What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Bryan Frizzell, coming to you today from the Lincoln Historic Building, new home of Cascade Media Group. Today's special guest was sworn in as the 44th Chief of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department on October 13, 2011. He was born and raised right here in Kansas City, Missouri, joining the police force in 1985, working his way up the ranks to eventually become the city's first African-American Chief of Police. What's up, Kansas City? Please give a warm welcome to Police Chief Darryl Forte.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure being here today, and thank you for this opportunity to share some of our messages.
I'm glad that you can be here to share. We know that your time is limited, so we're going to step right into the interview. In his unofficial State of the City address, Mayor Sly James said that the city's violent crime rate remains ridiculously high. Witnesses often fail to cooperate with police, and too many idiots have access to guns. Police Chief Forte, in one sentence or less, what can Kansas City residents do to help fight police crime?
Come forward when there's a crime committed that they have information about. I think it's important, and that's why we're trying to build trust. We need to build trust with the community. If you look at the homicide rates in 1968, when the race riots were here in Kansas City, Missouri, we hadn't had 100 homicides since we tracked this in 1926. We began tracking in 1926. We didn't go over 100 homicides until after the race riots, and that, to me, I looked at that early on as a sergeant in the homicide unit. That showed me at one point that the trust level between the police and the other segments of the community wasn't where it needed to be. And if you look again in 1992 during the Rodney King incidents, that was probably the highest period in 1992 and 1993. 1992 with 152 homicides and 1993 with 153 homicides, that trust level. And that's what I want to do as Chief of Police, along with my team and other members of the community, is build that trust again where people don't feel like they have to take matters in their own hands.
You mentioned come forward and the trust level. I remember the Rodney King riots. I was still in grade school. I remember, the media perhaps blowing it out of proportion and us wondering whether or not we were going to riot here in Kansas City. And Mom was like, no, we're not going to have that. You're 12. You're too young to go out and riot. I try to keep up with you. In the January edition of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department newsletter, Mr. Forte, the format, you talk about Hotspot policing, which started in May of 2012 to combat violent crime in the areas of the city that is most plagued with it. Can you tell us where the #1 most violent area in the city is, and talk to us a little more about the Hotspot policing initiative? What will it accomplish? How will it work?
Well, since Hotspot policing is working, and I say it is working because we have 2 years worth of data that we've analyzed. When you look at 2012, in the hotspot policing areas, we reduced homicides by 10%. And I say we as the entire community, not just the police department's efforts. And if you look at the data for 2013, it was reduced by 19%. And in both of those years, it wasn't displaced because the homicide numbers didn't go up. And upon being appointed chief, I told the Board of Police Commissioners who hired me to serve as chief that I would implement these hotspot areas within 3 days of me becoming chief. So we started the concept within 3 days of me becoming chief in October of 2011. And as a result of me looking at 3 years worth of data before being appointed chief, I saw that over 50% of our homicides occurred in less than 13 square miles of Kansas City when you put those 4 distinct areas together. And that's how we developed the hotspot policing philosophy in those specific areas.
What is the most dangerous aspect about being a police officer in the Kansas City, Missouri area?
I think just the daily, the daily chances of being injured. We have injury reports that come out every month. We have injured officers as a result of being assaulted. We had several members that had to retire after being shot. We've had a member just last week that had that just returned from work from being brutally assaulted. So just the dangers of everyday police work, coming into contact with people that sometimes have a mental illness, sometimes people that have substance abuse issues and that act out even toward the police.
When I was growing up, there were the Blood and the Crip gangs that were in our cities. Do these gangs still exist, and why don't we hear so much about them in the news anymore?
Yeah, they still exist, but you have so many other gangs that are here, and I'd like to reflect back on like 1980. That's the year I was graduating from high school. We had 139 homicides in Kansas City, and we didn't have the Blood and Crips here, and there was no crack here. So again, we have to be real careful, and I want to get this message out. We have to be extremely careful on not making everything drug and gang related, because again, in 1980, we had 139 homicides in Kansas City, Missouri, and that's before we talked about Bloods and Crips and crack being such a problem in the Kansas City area.
Mr. Forte, I understand that you graduated from Ruskin in 1980. How is the South Kansas City of today different than the one you grew up in?
You talk about the demographics. There's a lot more diversity out there. I remember going out there in the middle 70s. I went to Smith Hill Junior High School. They call it middle school now, probably. Went to Smith Hill Junior High School, and I was the only African American in a lot of my classes then. So it's changed a lot when you talk about the demographics. Crime has increased out there because, again, it's a lot more population out there, not just minorities, but a lot more population out there, a lot more congested out there than it was before when I was growing up out there.
How does your family respond to having the police chief of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department at home?
I don't know, they just treat me like a regular person. I've been, I don't talk about work at home. I've never have, and I just come to work. I've spent a lot of hours at work. I have 2 daughters, and I've been married for 26 years, and again,
Congratulations.
thank you. I just don't talk about police stuff at home.
Chief Forte, you recently broke ground for the East Patrol Division Station and Ground Lab. Some say recent police stations built in Kansas City do little or nothing to benefit the residents who live around them. How will the East Patrol Division help the citizens who live around the 27th and Prospect area from an economic development point of view when it opens in 2015?
And I say if you just drive by there right now, you look at all the blight that was there. If you could just picture in your head, or if you were raised around there or traveled that area, you look at all the blight that was there. Now it's not the blight. You can go over there to 27th Street and look all the way over to Brooklyn, and there's no blight, and it'll be a beautiful station once it's over there. And it can't do anything but help the area. And I rode through there. My best friend, who was killed within 30 days of me becoming chief, his parents lived over there, and every other house appeared to be vacant. It was dilapidated cars out there, overgrowth, foliage out there. Now you go over there and look, and you can see that's a great foundation of what's to come.
2 more questions. This year, the Kansas City Police Department celebrates its 140-year anniversary. Congratulations. What plans do you feel you were successful in focusing in on last year, and what do you plan to focus in on this year, Chief?
We'll continue to be consistent with the hotspot policing efforts, with the community building, relationships building effort. Part of the strategic plan, which was 9 strategic objectives in there, one was allowing other segments of the community to come to the police department and educate us about their needs, their wants, their beliefs. Rather than the police department stand up and talk about what we want the other segments of the community to come to us, and we invite them to us to share what they need in their community.
Late last week, the President announced that tonight during the State of the Union address, he will be talking about economic inequality. What are you looking forward to hearing when you look at the State of the Union address tonight?
I'm open. I'm not looking for any specific thing. Just whatever the President wants to talk about, I'm here to listen to him, and hopefully if he says something that resonates within my heart, we can implement some things in Kansas City. But again, I think even with the President, it's about trust building, it's about relationship building, it's about managing adversity. Of course, you have our first African American president. He's facing a lot of things that probably a lot of us can't imagine. And I think he's a great role model for all of us, not just in Kansas City or the Midwest. He's a great role model for us, and I think we need to support him.
One quick follow-up question. We talk about the link between education and employment, less crime in our areas. Do you stress, what are your feelings in terms of education and having safe communities?
Education is imperative. If you look at the population of those that are incarcerated or are being supervised, the education level, there is a correlation between your education level, but we can't use that as an excuse, because just because you don't have an education doesn't mean you can go out there and commit crimes. I know a lot of people that don't have education, parents, grandparents who grew up with no education early on, they didn't commit crimes, so we can't use that as an excuse, but that's something we need to look at. Education is very critical to the growth of our communities.
Any final words?
No, I just want to tell all the population, anyone that can hear me, thank you for the support over these years. I get a lot of compliments about what I'm doing as a police chief. I'm not doing anything alone. I have a great team around me, internal and external, so I just want to say thank you to everyone out there, and hopefully we continue to keep open dialogue.
Let them know that you have a blog where they can follow you.
KCPD.org. You can get on the blog, kcp.org, click on the Chief's page, and then you can click on the blog. And I also tweet at Chief Forte. And I monitor it daily, and I try to tweet something every day when I go to homicide scenes, try to make all of them. So I tweet information about homicide scenes and other critical incidents out there.
Check out the blog, check out the tweets. Please, Chief Forte, we're going to have to invite you to come back. I want to talk to you about economic inequality, the school to prison pipeline, inequalities in African Americans and in the legal system. Just we could go on, but I know that you're really a busy man, and we appreciate the work that you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Brian Frizzell, your host for What's Up Kansas City. Check out more video online at www.whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, the sky's the limit. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars. Thank you.
What's up, Kansas City? CMG wants you to support Brooklyn Cuts.
They are located at 3100 Brooklyn Avenue and have been in existence for over 40 years.
They specialize in skin fades, eyebrow arch, beard designs, texturizers, with many other options.
Contact them at 816-921-0017.
They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
CMG supports,
And you should too.
CMG wants you to always remember, the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you are really just investing in yourself. Thanks.